Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. It's a special one. It is the launch of Retail Management Hero. So it's been a long process. We're really happy to get here. It's been a lot of work. Thank you to the partner community. Thank you to the retailers who have been beta testers. We've gathered all of this information and it's gotten us here today. So today's presentation is going to run about an hour. If you have any questions, as always, submit them throughout the presentation. We'll try to get to all of them at the end. There's over 400 attendees at this webinar, so we're going to try to get through all the questions. We're going to do the best we can. But without further ado, without wasting any more time, I'd like to hand it off to Tony Winters, our Directors of Products and Projects, who's going to kick it off for us today. Tony, please.
Thanks very much, Jonathan. A very good morning to everybody, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Yes, as mentioned, my name's Tony Winters. I head up the Products and Projects team at Retail Realm. We're also joined on the line today by Anthony Ludmilin, the CEO of Retail Hero, our partner in this project. Also, Colin Urquhart is on the line. He's the product manager for RMH. And we have several people, including Mitra Alikani, our Chief Operations Officer from Retail Realm, to answer any commercial and partner related operations questions. So do send us your questions on the chat window, as Jonathan mentioned. We will get to them at the end. We have quite a lot of material to get through today. Around about 1 hour in length, and we have some demos to show you, some live working demos of the latest version of the solution. Just running through the agenda, we'll be giving you a quick overview and then diving into why we're here today, why RMH, what makes it special, and a little bit of the background on how we arrived at this juncture point. We'll be diving into the feature set. I know many of you are eager to find out which features supported, which isn't, and so on and so forth. So we'll be exposing a lot of that on the line today. And then giving you some comparisons between RMH and the predecessor, if you like, the RMS product, and things like POS 2009. And then we'll be handing off to for some demos on the POS. Anthony will be covering the POS, and I'll be coming back to show you the latest version of the the store manager application. And then we'll be touching on payment processing, a very important part of any retailing operation today. We've got some exciting news to share in the payment processing arena. We'll be showcasing some of the partner add-ons. Jonathan touched upon the really great uptake we've had with our early adopter program, and that's also included the people reaching out and modifying their add-ons and developing new add-ons for RMH to extend the footprint of the application across different verticals. We'll be looking at the roadmap throughout the rest of this year, what's upcoming, and then touching on things like licensing and pricing. We'll be delving into what's new with the marketing collateral, and then looking at what opportunities are available in the short term for training. And then finishing off with all the different contact points at Retail Hero and Retail Realm, so that you can put any queries or questions you have to the right department. And then I'll be handing back off to Jonathan for the Q&A session at the end. We've got 1 or 2 special announcements, so please do stay tuned, and we do value your time today. So we've got some special announcements to make after the Q&A session. So let's look at the solution, RMH, Retail Management Hero. It's the point of sale solution for retailers. It's been completely rewritten from the ground up, and it really strives to enable retailers to manage their back office operations as well as the point of sale activities. The standalone software is really aimed and geared towards the small to medium-sized store chains to ultimately improve their BI, their business intelligence, and really allow them to work smarter and faster in a really rich footprint of the different applications that form part of the RMH solution. it addresses a lot of the needs in many different verticals. The RMH product really strives to be encompass many different types of sectors, including grocery, apparel, sporting goods, wine and spirits, gift and specialty retail. So just moving on now to why RMH, why Retail Management Hero? Well, we thought it'd be good just to spend a couple of minutes looking down memory lane, if you like, and why RMH has come to us today. One of the big drivers has been the Microsoft RMS store operations reaching end of life. The announcement, as you know, came a couple of years ago from Microsoft that they would be ceasing support for RMS for new stores this year. At Retail Realm, we have a really rich ecosystem of partners and customers that have put a lot of investments around the RMS piece, and we feel it's really important to continue and maintain that relationship with a new go-to-market product. And then beyond that, it's really important to realise, we do realise that you know, there are lots of other net new modern retailing opportunities looking forward beyond the RMS space. And as I mentioned, we'll take a look at the timeline. So back in the day, in the late 1990s, a company out of Anaheim in California in the US called SMS, Sales Management Systems, developed a very highly successful product, QuickSell 2000. That was based upon the Access database. It had a similar footprint to RMS, where it had a store component and a headquarters component. And that developed rapidly into their flagship product, QuickSell Commerce, around the turn of the century. And that was based upon SQL Server with a highly customizable com-decom engine. SMS won many awards on development front. I think we're obviously noted by Microsoft, and Microsoft actually acquired the company in 2002. So having acquired the company and the assets, they relaunched their internal teams, relaunched the product, rebranded it under the RMS, the Retail Management System footprint, with the MBS and then latterly Dynamics, and then obviously continued to work with it and develop it and enhance it with the different feature packs along the way. And then in 2009 they launched the standalone system, POS 2009, and then, as I mentioned a couple of years ago, there was the notice for end of life. So that's really where we are today, 2016, for net new customers, new stores. But there is going to be continued support, obviously, for existing stores up until 2021. So that kind of brings us to RMH, really, looking forward to what is the kind of predecessor for RMS, and that is where we've launched the RMH product. As Jonathan mentioned, it's been many months of hard work, and having the reseller community behind us, any early adopter, has brought us to where we are today. And that is a joint effort between Retail Hero and Retail Realm. You'll notice that we're announcing today that the version number for that piece is 3.0. So that's a couple of reasons, really, just to really emphasize that it's the kind of next version, the next iteration of RMS, if you like, from our point of view and from the market's point of view, and also to on a technical note, to make sure that there's no ambiguity when we're, maybe from a support point of view, talking about different versions. Is it 1.0, 2.0, and so on? So there's no confusion between RMS and RMH. A couple of key pillars that help us steer the ship moving forward. So you'll hear a lot of talk about RMS, and we do, obviously we are aware of other requirements and other kind of activities, but RMS is a very key part to our ecosystem, as is the customers that are based on POS 2009 and the MS POS, the smaller baby version of POS 2009 that Microsoft released. I think we need to underline our continual research and development. So RMS is reaching the end of life, but RMH will continue to move forward, to strive forward with our various cadence releases throughout the year as we continue to develop it and work with the product. It needs obviously to be multi-store ready, so we're already making gains there. We've ensured that it's compatible with RMS headquarters for an existing store, and we'll have some other news obviously in time with our own RMH HQ. And then to bring the reseller community with us, we mentioned that before, that we have a rich ecosystem active in there that have made lots of investments, as well as the developments that they've done as well. So really, just to tot up this piece now, it's really about the investment protection. So with RMH, we need to make sure that the installation of the solution is easy, and maintenance is also straightforward moving forward. We need to make sure that the data migration, if somebody's migrating from one of the earlier products to RMH, that is carried out as seamlessly as possible. It's important that the store retailer can utilize existing hardware and infrastructure when moving platforms, so that they don't have to dispose of their current receipt printers, their cash drawers and poll displays, etc. We need to make sure that the partner training and retailer training is as minimum as possible. They can really pick up the application, associate with it, and then run with it from day one with a minimum of retraining. And then we'll be talking a little bit more later on about the licensing and support plans, and we'll be honouring, we have programs in place to honour current retailers that are currently on an RMS support plan. As well as if they're not, we have different programs in place to get them onto a new RMH support plan. And then finally, on licensing and pricing, we've pitched the solution at a similar place to where the current RMS is sitting. So again, customers and resellers will be familiar with that pricing structure. So enough said on that. Let's dive in and look at some of the features. The key features are it's an on-premise solution, and we're very happy and proud of that. We believe that that's been one of the things that's made RMS very successful. And in a retailing environment where you need uptime, you need stability, almost mission critical, an on-premise solution does go a long way to providing that, especially where communications are maybe not so reliable in different parts of the world globally. We support a wide range of SQL versions, so SQL 2008 upwards, and again there's no requirement to have to support or install the very latest version of SQL. Migrating from one legacy platform to RMH should be straightforward. We have very similar components to say RMS. We have a POS component, a manager component, and an admin component, and we'll be showing you those today. And I mentioned payment processing earlier. We have out-of-the-box payment processing now, so EMV compatible out of the box without the additional workload of additional plugins and applications that you have to install and configure and maintain. Everything's now going to be done out the back of the gate using the manager to configure, and we'll be showing you that a bit later on. And then important to note, we're a global company. We have resellers globally, and it's important that we maintain the application from a localization point of view, from language and other variables, and we'll be doing that with the release of RMH as well. So some more detail now on the feature set. This is the final feature set. It's not by any means the full feature set, but it's a few headline sections, if you like. We often get asked, will RMH be supporting layaway? And the answer is yes, we'll be supporting layaway, quotes, work orders, back orders, all the regular things that a store will need to conduct day-to-day business. We have a range of discounts that the POS will be supporting. and obviously we support cashiers, sales reps and customers. So we have a real plethora of features that are baked into the application that make it a really rich and viable solution taken to market. Other features we have built-in are built-in e-receipts as standard. Loyalty will be also part of the go-to-market GA release. We support all the standard items that you may expect: kits, matrix, vouchers, serialized items, and so on. So we support a lot of the features that you may find in RMS, and we've also enhanced many of the back office and front office feature function sets as we've been developing the application from the ground up. I mentioned hardware, so again we'll be supporting barcode scanners, receipt printers. We offer Windows and OPOS support, as well as cash drawers, MSRs, weighing scales. We'll be completing all the regional approvals as we go into the market in the various worldwide places. And obviously we mentioned payment terminals with the payment processing. We have an exciting new net display as well on the POS, which we can also talk a bit about later on. So just moving over to the manager now, the store manager. The feature set again is very rich. The manager really becomes an application, less of an initial setup that you may find with some other POS and retail systems where it's something you may just do some initial setup. This is really a workhorse that can be used day in, day out by various people at the store, you know, maybe in the merchandising department, people that are receiving goods and inventory, or maybe in accounts for the accounts receivable department. It's a real tool that really, again, enriches their experience and gets stuff done very quickly. And on the reporting side, I'll show you some of the reports that we have as well a little bit later on. I think being the platform where we will be actually providing a baseline of rich functionality to really extend it into different markets and verticals, the SDK then becomes very important. And we have a really fully baked SDK for the POS. We have the CHM help file that I'm showing you on the screen here that lists out all the different classes, all the different feature functions, the methods, the properties, enumerations that allow a developer to really get under the skin of the POS, get it hooked into the various events and whatnot, where they can then start to create other applications that sit upon the POS that become seamless to the experience of the cashier or the user. So I know we've highlighted this on some of the previous other webinars that we've done. So again, if there are any other developers and partners that wish to partake in that, please obviously reach out to us. Some examples of what you can do with the SDK. Well, payment integrations are obviously part and parcel of that. The payment integrations that we're launching today are also based upon the SDK, so that's you know, testament that that works. Loyalty could be another particular point of interest to a company that wants to extend the solution. And I think naturally e-commerce as well, that is obviously something that lends itself. You may want to rebrand the application, you may want to change the layout, maybe add some other localization features or language. You can also do that as part and parcel with the SDK. So in terms of some comparisons now, you know, again, we get a lot of questions about, you know, can RMH do this? POS 2009 used to do this. Well, we have a whole chart that will be put on the RMH POS website. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and it lists out like-for-like functions. And we've just splashed up a few on the screen today. So where there's what we call like an expansion, where we're expanding the functionality over and above what the Microsoft product offered, then that's where we can call out, and then we can note that it's a like-for-like function, but it goes into either more depth, or it's easier to use, or maybe the UI is more richer. So we have a couple of screens here. I'm not going to go through every one of these, but again, for those that are interested, we have a fully kind of featured Excel file that goes into a lot more depth than we have time for today. So at that point, enough said for me for the moment. I'll be coming back shortly to look at the manager and some of the other features and functions that we have to go over today. But I'd like to hand over to my colleague now, Anthony Libmillin. He heads up the POS development team, and he'll be happy to show you the latest version of the RMH POS.
Thank you very much, Tony. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So let's start with this presentation of the POS. First, we'll log in. Now we see a screen, and I would like to give you a little bit of overview what's happening here. First of all, we have a completely new navigation through the menus, and let's go through the details of the menu very quickly, and see that it's a multi-level menu that covers pretty much all the functionality that you can find in RMS, perhaps in F buttons. So let's just do a typical RMS function, F2 item lookup, and select one or two items to the screen. The other control that you can see, for instance, custom commands menu, that's what you also saw in RMS. That would be something that's used by the extensions and third-party plugins. In the top of the window, you see certain icons that show the current status. The version I'm demonstrating is one of the betas, it's 1.7, not 3 as Tony said, but you will see the 3 one when it comes live. Now we have two different themes in the POS, dark and light, and because it's completely, the whole interface is about being as much touch-friendly as possible. We have automatically set up different resolutions, or you can change the resolutions on the fly if you want, and you can adjust the font size to make it as much convenient for the cashiers to work with a particular screen as it's necessary. So a lot of thought has been put into developing this user interface. Now there are some new icons here, like one of the icons shows that there's some items on the hold. The type of the transaction is sales, and we also have a couple more features that I will show later. It's a transaction order and item roll-up as well. What we've done new here is you can quite customize the transaction grid as well. You can hide the columns, you can move them around, you can display only those columns that you need to see, and it's a user setting that is persisted when the user logs and logs on back again. It's per user setting. You can reset it back to the original setting as well if you want to. Now the context or right mouse buttons actually work everywhere. Also works with touch very much. If you click somewhere in the empty space, you have an option to add an item or perform a lookup. You can select multiple items, you can delete them, assign sales reps and so on to perform various group operations with the items on the screen. Let's assign sales rep. We can also change for one of the existing sales rep. And by the way, every of these functions is also available through the menu. So if you don't want to use right mouse button or context menu, you can always use standard menu transactions. Let's delete certain items. And now let's talk about item lookup. We've redesigned the screen quite a bit. It's a context sensitive search, so you can put in any part of the use of the item code description, alias even, and find that item very quickly here. That's what is being demonstrated now. There is an example of the doll which is called Disney Frozen. So we can put in the part of the user code, of the item code and description to find this item as well. And of course, you can scan any item right here as I'm typing. You can also scan using barcode scanner, same way. So the items, when the code is found, they add it instantly without search. But you can also put partial search into that scan window as well. Here's I'm showing how to add a serial number, a serial item. Okay, and by the way, I just changed the order of this transaction, so now you see the top, the new items show it on top rather than at the bottom. There's another serial item with serial numbers already available. Again, we can switch the order of the transactions here. This is a weighted item. Our system is already integrated with Opus Scale, and pretty soon we will go through the certification to make sure that we're all compatible with the requirements, government requirements for weighted items. The integration is done much better than in RMS. It's actually real time, so anything that you put on the weight scale is immediately shown in the area that is specific for the scale. So visible now, but it will when you enable the scale. Here's adding of a matrix item. Again, here I'm showing just a partial entry, something like Disney. So search works through the scan window as well. We've added a lot of new things into how the items are displayed in the grids, how you can search for the items and things like that. There's a lot of thought have been put into developing this particular part of the application. Here I'm going to demonstrate item roll-up feature. When it's turned on, when you multiple scan the same items, they will add up rather than being added as a line item, individual line items, but add up the quantity. So you can see that's exactly what's happening on the screen when the item roll-up feature is turned on. If we turn it off, bringing the same item will create a separate line item in the transaction grid. It's one of those features that have been quite requested. Now, this item action button is a shortcut to many different features which otherwise would be available through the menu. So you can change the quantity, you can change the price, you can have a right description, and have shortcuts to very common things like discounts and so on. So now you see, because I changed the price manually, the item is shown with a flag. Now let me do a return. We put the quantity to negative. Now, of course, we see the reason code, and this item shows up in the red. It's pretty much like in RMS, so it will look familiar to you guys who are RMS users. Let's talk about the customers. The customer search or customer lookup also works by F7 as an RMS, and it also has a similar feature to item lookup, except that we add quite a few different filters. So we can filter by the account and by things like state, and we also can enter anything known about the user or the customer, like first name and a partial phone number in this case, to immediately focus on that customer record. So once the customer is added to the transaction, you see it in the top pane, and we can even do something like that. If we can actually scan, if the customer has a account number, like in this case, we can scan it right into the POS window from the card. So that's a very easy way to find a customer as well. The customer has all the typical fields, shipping addresses as well, options, as it is familiar from RMS. There's customer purchase history as well, additional fields, and now we have something new called alias. So the same idea as with items, so any customer account may have different aliases. Like for instance, if they lost their card, instead of changing the customer account, you just add an alias to this field. So the customer would be found by the alias as well, by the account numbers. We have all range of discounts available in RMS. Transaction level discount, price level, current item discounts. Even you can apply the discounts on all items or sets, the subtotal of the transaction, for instance. And we also added, just very recently, we added the screen that summarizes all these functions in one screen. Called it summary screen. That's what the partners requested during the training quite a bit, so we decided to add it. So now this transaction is discounted. We apply a discount reason code. The discounted items show in the bold font, and it's quite visible. So now if we ring up the transaction and tender the transaction, actually, the tender screen looks a little different, but you see the familiar features like, say, for instance, you can duplicate certain tender types if you want to, and you can even use the plus sign as a shortcut. In this case, I'm just putting full amount to show the change. Now, here's what you're seeing is e-receipt. E-receipt is built in. It can be enabled or disabled. If it's enabled, you will see this prompt comes up every time at the end of the transaction. Now that's a receipt. I printed to OneNote just to see how the Windows printout looks like. You see that the receipt is very similar to RMS. In fact, we're using the same template. So any customized template that you might have been using in RMS would still work with RMH US. Once we got to the receipt, let's talk about the journal. The journal here, again, F4, the same way as in RMS. It has the same features like, you know, if a receipt is multi-page, you can scroll through the pages, you can scroll through the receipts, go first, last receipts and things like that. There's a very comprehensive receipt search that allows you to filter by batch, the transaction type, date, time, customer name, customer account number, and then register a printer. In RMH POS, we actually record the printer that prints that receipt, which makes it a little bit easier sometimes. So you can find a variety of these receipts and bring them and reprint if necessary. So we can print, reprint, we can email receipt right from here, from the journal. We can also print gift receipt if the template for the gift receipt is available with the receipt template. So if it's one of the latest version of RMS, that would be supported. So now here's your gift receipt. The next part of our application, I'm going to show a little bit of work orders, and for doing so, let's recall a transaction which was on hold for a while, and add a customer to it. Let's take Sarah Waters, the same person, and let's convert it to a work order. Once we convert it to work order, the icon changes, so it indicates that we have a work order now. You can see additional panel shows up that shows the deposit, additional deposit balance, and things like that. It follows the same rules as it was in RMS, sort of like you set up a default deposit. In this case, I believe it's 50%, and then you tender the transaction, take the deposit, print the receipt, and let me show the receipt. Shows that now it's work order. Shows the items that ordered, on order picked up, and things like that. Typical work order receipt. Now we can go back and recall that work order. And we will partially pick it up. So now we can select which item to pick up. Let's say this one. It shows what deposit has been applied, what's the amount remaining due, and again we tender it the same way as it was before. So that's our change. Now when this is tendered and the transaction and then the items are picked up, now you see that it's actually a sales transaction. So now here's a sales receipt that shows the item which is still on order, not picked up, and then the item that was just picked up and all the balance and deposits applied and things like that. So it works very much similar to that as RMS, except we made some changes in the look and feel of that. Let's ring up a couple items again. And talk about the taxes. So first of all, we can override the tax for the transaction. That's a list of the available taxes here. I just want you to notice there is a tax which matches zip code 6153, and that's the zip code of that Sarah Waters customer here, 61153. The reason I'm having this tax in there, it's just because to demonstrate what is a destination tax. There's a new feature in RMH that is called destination tax. So the typical tax is a state tax. You see that the amount is 742. We can actually turn on the tax or turn off and change the tax, of course provided that the cashier has permissions or granted permissions to do that. But now let's do something else. Let's apply a destination tax. A destination tax works by matching a selected customer account field with the tax. In this case, it was the zip code, and the tax rate was just 1%, so that's why the tax amount changed. Let me tender it, and I will show on the receipts that the tax actually is changed from the typical state tax that it was before. Now we can see that 6153 tax is applied to this transaction. So that's the workings of destination tax feature. And the last but not least, we have all the full range of the batch operations, entering, opening, closing amounts, X report, Z report. One of the new features is you can preview a X report rather than printing it. It helps to save the paper, of course, and you can correct your mistakes during the transaction, during the batch, without printing the receipt. And of course, cash drop and payout, the same functions as in RMS. And the last function here is login, logout. So that concludes my presentation at the moment, and I pass back the torch to Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. That looks really good, and I love the custom alias. I think that's going to make life a lot easier for anybody that's has like an in-house loyalty scheme or customer card. I can really see that really helping those retailers. So thanks for that. Just moving on now, we have a little bit more to show you on the demo front. I'm going to walk you through the RMH Manager application. So we mentioned the footprint of the solution. We have a POS application, we have a store application, and also an admin application, the three icons on the desktop. If I just go into the manager application, we log in using the familiar user ID and password combination. And this is our manager application. We have the ribbon at the top, which dynamically changes depending upon where you are in the solution. And then we have these 6 levels of grouping, 6 sort of tabs, if you like, down at the bottom that group all the kind of regular feature functions that the retailer may be engaged with. I mentioned earlier, somebody could be a merchandiser, they may be dealing with customers and customers accounts, or be involved in around purchasing department. So we've kind of grouped like-for-like functions. So we're just going to briefly look at the merchandising tab. We have a number of features. Just to quickly tab, I'm not going to go into any great detail, but just to just bring up on screen various feature functions that may take your interest, and just demonstrate that we have a lot of new functionality, but we also have a lot of functionality, if you like, that's backwards compatible with some of the Microsoft products, the RMS piece. So I'm just going through the item card now, and you can see that a lot of the functionality is supported. It's very quick to go in and out of these different items, as is departments and categories. So we've inherited the same sort of two-tier structure. So when the data migration comes across, all that information will be in place. Now we have a couple of wizards. We have three wizards just to quickly show you. We have the advanced item wizard, which allows us to en masse change a whole variety of items in one go, be it prices, be it upper bound, lower bound, what department or category items belong to. So we can make those changes en masse, and I'm just putting in a few criteria into the wizard now just to show you the flexibility. What I can also do is group the list by category. You saw me drag category up to the top bar there. And when I've got my subset of items, I can make my changes very, very quickly, drill down into the various parameters and then commit them when I'm ready. One of the other wizards that we've inherited from RMS in terms of functionality, but what we've really enhanced upon, we have 37 different wizards now in these list of tasks that I'm just showing you up on the screen. So we can change the prices, we can do all the various things that you could do with RMS, but we can now do things like change tear weights, we can change item descriptions and so on. One of the other wizards is label wizard. So again, we can print labels for specific items. We can print labels for items that have just been booked into stock. And again, a lot of the functionality is moved across from RMS. But one of the features that we've really extended is around the label designer. So you have your basic label, but the feedback that we got from retailers was really that they really need, because the label is something that is often customer facing, you can really add a lot of value to your base product by making the label quite rich, maybe containing other metadata and static data. So that was a very quick whirlwind tour of the inventory tab, the merchandising tab. I just want to show you some of the other tabs that flesh out the application. And next on the list we have the customer area. So that is in two areas really. The basic customer database, which I'm showing you on screen now. This is a customer record for Sarah Waters that Anthony also mentioned at the pause. And we'll just tab through the various tabs now, just again to highlight some of the feature functions that we have here. You know, the ability to define multiple shipping addresses and select different customer options, etc. Now, we've really built out the accounts receivable section within RMH at the back office and also at the POS now. So customers, your base customer database, if they are accounts receivable customers, you can also do that from the customer account record. So not all customers need to be account customers, like as in RMS. You can select, so you may have a store where you've only got one or two people that you give account functionality to, and it really allows you to separate those out and more closely manage them. And again, we can offer a lot more functionality that was currently in the base RMS product. We can have a lot more billing options, a lot more communication options, and we can define simple things like how they wish to receive their statements. Do you want to receive them, let's say, by email or by a printed method? And you can define that on a per customer basis. Quickly moving on now to some of the inventory and purchasing options. Obviously, needless to say, you can define your suppliers. Purchase ordering is obviously a big part of any sort of inventory workflow. If I just bring up one of the purchase orders again, purchase orders will be migrated from RMS if that's the way the system's being deployed. We're showing here on the screen now the header information, and I'm diving into the line items for this particular purchase order to show you again the rich functionality and different sub-functions that you've got to maybe recalculate costs and discounts. When it comes to printing the PO, I can do that from the PO screen. And again, that purchase order is also designed using the same receipt designer that we have in the back office application for a report designer, I should say, for designing the reports, statements, and obviously the PO templates that I'm showing you on the screen now. So I'm in this one particular purchase order now. I'm going to just show you how easy it is to add some items that maybe from a matrix standpoint. So they could be clothing items, and for this particular demo database we've grouped all our cycles as matrix items because they come in different sizes and also different colors as well. So I'm going to just work my way through here. I'm just going to add this one particular matrix header component to the PO, and you notice rather than coming up with a linear list of items, it's actually laying the PO screen out in a matrix format, so I can very quickly enter my pink values, my red values, my yellow values, and so on. Again, making it really easy to quickly order up what you need to fulfill your stock demand. So when I've done that, I can enter my various values on the PO, click Save and Close, and then that drops it onto the PO. And then I can do all my regular purchase order operations, from printing, from releasing, and obviously booking in stock when the packages eventually arrive. Now, as well as doing manual POs, I've got a lot more functionality at my disposal. I can create what we call a requisition. So this is a staging post. This isn't actually a purchase order. It's a kind of a view on what the system thinks we should be purchasing. So I can do that based upon my maximum and minimum levels, based upon what was recently sold, and then I get this view that I'm showing you on the screen now. It's suggesting that I could potentially be placing 2 purchase orders, and then I have the ability just to go through and untick any items I don't wish to order just before I commit that to the purchase order, and then it appears on the list as normal. So just other things to quickly mention before we dive on to the next session. In the PO section, again, we've extended it beyond what's possible with the retail management system. We offer what's called, very important, a really good feature for the accountants department, the feature of the invoice matching, so we can actually key in what invoices we received against those received packages, and the system will perform the match and highlight any discrepancies. So this, again, is additional functionality. It can save the retailer's costs where there are issues of discrepancies between the price of some of the goods, maybe what was at the time of ordering to what was coming in on the back of an invoice. So moving on through the system, the next item, we showed you some of the tools, the label wizard there, and designer. And what we've done with the back office application, because it's so feature rich, it was important to group all the setup items like for like. So where you may want to come in and add different new cashiers, or manage your sales reps, or maybe add a different shipping method from time to time, you can come into this setup screen and make those changes and find those screens. Are very, very straightforward and very easy because they group like for like with the main subsections here. You can see I've got my register definition on screen at the moment, and again that shows you very like-for-like functionality and support with RMS and POS 2009. So all my payment processing options will be here. My receipt formats, my tender types, everything will be under this screen. So last but not least, I want to just dive into the reports. Again, we have many reports on hand. Again, like-for-like reports from the standard RMS reports, but also new ones such as basket analysis, and so on. You can do many things with the reports. You can export it. I'll show you that in a second. You can add in, drop in new columns, remove columns just to simplify the report. You can change the grouping on different columns, and you can also change the sort order. And then when you're done with your report and you have it exactly as you wish, you can then export that as a PDF. That's the standard way of exporting it, or you can create a HTML document to maybe drop on a website, or export it as CSV. So we have all the standard, what we call standard reports. There's many of them, and also we have purchasing reports based around transfers and purchases. And then obviously, last but not least, the reports that appertain to accounts receivable. So just before we go, I just want to highlight some of the other configurations that we have around the store name and address. Again, many of that will be familiar to many of you. And then when it comes to licensing the product, I'm just quickly showing you on screen how you may activate the product. So there's an activation button now where you can put in your token string that you've received from the order portal, and then that will enable certain features, the manager and the POS. So that pretty much concludes this demo on the manager side. Again, thanks ever so much for staying with us, and please keep your questions coming in. Just before we start to round up, I just want to hit on a few very important points. I know it's coming up to the hour. We'll try and get through the content as quickly as we can. Payment processing features very heavily in our drop here, launch drop this month. Some of the features are, we mentioned, it's an out-of-the-box setup, so really simplifying the deployment, the installation, and ultimately, improving the customer experience with the merchant. Here are a couple of the screens that I'm just popping up on the PowerPoint today. This will be a typical payment profile with the various details that have to be input, for instance, merchant ID. So again, anybody that's maybe been involved with some of our Retail Realms add-ons around RMS, some of these metrics here will be familiar, but this time it's out of the box, so with 1 or 2 clicks you can bring up this screen in the manager application and start to get ready for the deployment. Once you've set up your profile, it's really easy just to assign it to an individual register. So the register, the POS register that Anthony demoed, that would be enabled by doing the back-end configuration here in the register properties, and then providing you've set up your tender types and things like that, that then becomes enabled at the POS. So from launch, we'll be supporting 2 North American processors. We're pleased to announce. And what we're doing across the board in all the regions, we're leveraging a PADSS-approved processor gateway application. So what does that mean? So we're taking care of all the development between RMH on the back end and the front end POS with these processors that we're onboarding and that we're working with. And they will have their own software pieces in various guises, and we're taking care of all that complexity, wrapping it up, and ensuring that we work with payment processors that have a PADSS approved application. We then undertake a certification with that provider, so we work diligently with them, sending them scripts and various technical data to make sure we comply with their guidelines. And then in addition to that, we're then providing almost like a back-to-back training and certification with our partners and resellers. So really arming them, arming yourselves with the know-how, with the confidence to go to market and deploy these card terminals and systems. In addition to that, when we put our partners in contact with a particular payment provider, on that side there will be a like-for-like partner account manager team that work with our partners to make sure they handle all the onboarding, the availability of devices, the merchant account setup, and all that kind of all those kind of metrics there to make sure that's taken care of. We're pleased to announce that Vantiv are the first payment processing provider that RMH has been certified with. We have that certification now for debit and credit, so offering a full EMV device, EMV ready, with the VX805 from Verifone, and that offers swipe support, dip in the card, and obviously manual card entry. We'll be launching gift card and EBT down the line as we go to market, and also the Ingenico IC250 device, which supports signature, will be soon to follow. We're also pleased to announce our second processor in the US, which is Cayenne, and they offer at the moment the MX915 Genius device, and also with credit and debit, and that features a line display feature. So in addition to the two that we mentioned, we're also working with Shift4, with Bangtech, with Heartland and WorldPay, and numerous others as well in North America. And again, we have dedicated teams within Retail Hero and Retail Realm that are servicing these developments. In the EU, we have Optonomy and also Verifone, UK and Ireland. And we have one or two others as well that we'll be announcing later on this year, as well as other regions, not to forget New Zealand and Australia. We work with Tyro and PCEFT POS, and also Mexico for our LATAM region. We work with a company called MIT. So at this point, as we start to close, I just want to announce some of the partner add-ons that have been working with us over the last months since we launched the early adopter program. We've got some exciting integrations available now. On the e-commerce front, we have Nitrocell, who have integrated their Nitrocell e-commerce platform to RMH. And then Magento is supported by a company called Synchro IT. They have a long-standing history with Magento and RMS, and have integrated their middleware to RMH. Other things that are available now are, for instance, the ERP connector by MS POS, loyalty points, hero points from Retail Hero. And New West have embedded their stock and inventory management tools, their mobility suite, with RMH. Other ones that we're currently in development, we have some winery solutions from Be Loyal and Granbury to announce. And also on the HQ front, OpSuite from Positive are also busy working, integrating RMH to OpSuite. So next on the list to talk about on our agenda is the roadmap. So we announced that RMH will be denoted to version 3.0. And the release date for RMH will be June the 14th of this month. That's what we call our general availability, our GA release, and that will include support for RMS headquarters. So soon after, we'll be launching version 3.1, circa July 2016, and that will include some features such as store manager security that we're currently working on, and there'll be some additional language packs that will help go to market in different regions globally, as well as an accounts receivable pack for RMS HQ. So that will now enable an existing store that has an estate of stores and RMS HQ to use our accounts receivable functionality built into RMH. And in the back end of this year and early into next year, we'll be announcing and making available some more headquarters pieces that we're currently in the works with RMH, and there'll be more news on that as we progress into general availability. So I mentioned the GA release, June the 14th, just to flag up that date. That means you can order it via the order portal. So RMH will be distributed via Retail Realm, the global distribution rights for the product, on our order portal. And the download will be made available on the website. You'll be hearing lots about the website, rmhpos.com. And if you have any questions, please contact your existing partner account manager, or if you're new, just reach out to us at sales@rdisty.com. So in terms of pricing and licensing, we mentioned earlier we've structured the solution so the pricing is like for like, very similar pricing structure to RMS store operations and the headquarters. RMH will feature some support plans as well. And current customers with an active RMS support plan will be carried over. So if, for instance, you have 6 months left on an RMS support plan, that will be added to a new 12-month RMH support plan. And I mentioned the pricing structure, the licensing structure is also similar to RMS. The license is licensed per POS. And now the RMH manager is also licensed, and also that's per terminal or per back office instance. And what we'll be doing is, if there is an existing store that's transitioning from RMS to RMH, we'll be giving per store 10 manager licenses to kind of grandfather that in. And further details can be available on the rmhpos.com website or from your partner account manager. And then I mentioned earlier during the demo that we'll be using a token method to license these instances. So just a couple of more things to hit on. Marketing collateral. We get asked about this a lot. Our partners, want collateral from us to help them go to market, and we have a whole team at Retail Realm for that. The product website is obviously rmhpos.com. We're flagging that up on the screen now. And that is tailored not only for partners but also end user customers, so they can get the information that's appropriate for them also. We have a range of news articles, details of all the educational sessions, the recording of all these webinars. We have a great brochure that's just been launched, as well as price lists, feature summaries, and so on. So please visit the site and do register if you're not already done so. So training, we've spoken a lot about the product, and training is a very important point. We have a number of videos now available on the website and also on this Vimeo address that we're using as a host for all our training material. And we'll be putting all the announcements on the RMH website. I also want to mention that when you're certified as a certified partner, we will be arming you with some NFR licenses. So that's not for resale licenses, that's internal licenses for your own product demonstration and training, carry out your own testing, etc. So again, speak to your partner account manager and they will help you obtain those. I just want to announce some in-person training. We have a next in-person training. We've been in lots of training globally. Our next event is in Napa, California, towards the end of this month. The details are on the screen, and there's also a registration link just there. It also can be found on our website too. Certification. So once you're trained, you're up to speed. Existing partners that are RMS partners that have a history of working in that environment with us, the in-person training is optional. That is at your discretion. However, new partners that don't have a history of working with RMS and Retail Realm, you must attend an in-person training session. We really want to set the bar so that we ensure all our partners are up to speed on the application and they feel confident in going to market. At the end of it, there's a short online exam. We have a really good pass rate. We have one or two obviously that didn't make it, but so it's not too onerous, but it does measure your knowledge of the application and the solution, and that's obviously free to take once you've either completed the training session or you've engaged with us and carried out the various sort of other prerequisites that we have to onboard you. So just finally now, we're coming up to the end of the session, over to the Q&A. I just want to flash up a few contact points. Again, I mentioned sales at RRDISTI. If you've got any marketing, if you want to engage with us around any marketing activities, please do so at that email address. If you want to talk to us about the conference and you get any details on that, again, visit our website. But also you can reach out to our team that specifically deal with a conference, maybe as an exhibitor, you can reach us there. The website address, again, I'm putting up for you. I don't know how many more times I can mention that, but that will be the placeholder for all the kind of content moving forward. And needless to say, we have a Facebook page, so you can find us and engage with us there. So if there's something that you haven't seen, again, just talk to us and we'll try and make it happen. So at that point, I'd like to take a big deep breath and thank you for staying with us, and hand things back to Jonathan now, who will kick off. I'm sure we've got 1 or 2 questions after today's session, but so over to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for a fantastic presentation. Yes, we do have quite a few questions. Some of you have been engaging directly with our chairman, Afshan Al-Khani, so thank you, Afshan, for making yourself available. So we're going to try to knock out as many as we can, but we've got a couple hundred that have come through. So first question that I've seen a lot come in, Tony, if you could help us out, is what version of RMS is needed to upgrade to RMH?
Yes, very good question. We've done a lot of testing around version 2.0.2000. So that's our official version, and that's not, needless to say, it's not going to work or operate if you're on 2.0.155 or earlier, but where we've concentrated on our efforts around QA and testing and field testing has been around that. So that's our official kind of end stop, if you like. But really it's down to the partners to test. If they have a big customer on an early version, they would obviously have to run internal tests and gap analysis.
Next question, is there any out-of-the-box loyalty scheme planned within the product?
I believe so. Anthony, maybe he can talk.
Yes, I can take it over. Some of you guys may be familiar with loyalty programs that we built in the past as a retail hero, Hero Points and Q Rewards, perhaps the 2 most known. So we're planning to build this part of loyalty into the system with some limited functionality. It will actually come in 2 different flavors. One is going to be free, built in within the system, and there will be a professional version that will require some additional payment or subscriptions and things like that. So just to put it shortly, yes, there's a loyalty system will be built in. It will be quite comprehensive loyalty system, and but it will be available as a separate package, separate download package, but it will be free. Okay.
Thank you, Anthony. Next question, it's a 2-part question. Is multi-currency available within the product, and also separately, what are the language packs available?
Yes, we support multi-currency, so you have the ability at tender time to select different currencies to tender in. The product fully supports the pound, the euro, the dollar, etc. in terms of a currency for the numeric values, and we will be launching in English, US, French, Spanish, German. I think we'll be following with Russian and Arabic for the Middle Eastern countries. So they will be the kind of 6 prime languages. And also there's something I didn't have time to unfortunately show you today. We have an excellent resource editor tool which allows you again to very easily self-support and self-translate from the base language into a language of your choice.
Thank you, Tony. Next question, how does RMH deal with physical inventory in the store?
I think by that they probably mean like a stock take. So we have an external add-on that will be made available very shortly after GA for carrying out physical inventory. So again, building upon what was there in RMS, but enriching that. So we have a lot more feature functions to account for for keeping the store open during a physical inventory count. And again, that will be branded under Retail Management Hero and made available with the application.
Will our current RMS partner still be our RMH partner?
I guess that may have come in from maybe a customer, an end user. I'm guessing so. I guess that's something that will need to come out in the wash, but we're still obviously working on the same three-tier model, Retail Management Hero, Retail Realm, then the partner community, then the customers. So I guess that's a specific account management question maybe, Jonathan.
Sure, yes. I think it's important to note that Retail Realm is the distributor of this product. We work with our partner community to move the product along down to the retailers and customers. So absolutely reach out to your partner. I'm sure they're well aware of RMH and going forward. Next question, we've had a couple questions come in, Tony, about accounting systems and specifically QuickBooks. Could you please just touch on that? People are asking if a QuickBook integration will be available to RMH.
Yes, it will be. We have a particular ISV working on a QuickBook solution right now.
Great. Is there any mobile device support for this product?
Yes, as part of the physical inventory and stock take module, we will be eventually supporting mobile handheld terminals to, for instance, roam the store in order to do a physical inventory stock take count. And also, as part of what I was talking about earlier about this being our launch pad, 3.0 being our baseline. We're obviously internally talking and discussing strategies for mobile POS in terms of the POS that Anthony was talking about and demonstrating earlier. So yeah, mobile is not there right as of today, but it's very much on the horizon.
Okay. And we're about 15 over the hour, so unfortunately we're going to have to wrap up. We have gathered all of your questions, and our partner account managers for the different regions will be reaching out to you to answer these questions. So if your question wasn't touched on, it will be answered shortly. We'll have a partner account manager reach out directly to you. This presentation is being recorded, and it will be available on the rmhpos.com portal for those of you who haven't visited. Some news that's coming up. We have RMH focused webinars continually for the next month or so. So the next one up is a one that's going to be sponsored by NitroCell. They deal with e-commerce. I saw some e-commerce questions come in about e-commerce integration, so that will be one that you don't want to miss. And then moving along, we also have our Retail Realm Partner and User Conference is slated for August 21st to the 23rd. We're doing a special promotion, so attendees of this webinar can sign up using the special promo code that's on your screen right now, RMH Special, and that'll knock off $50 to the attendee price. So that's going to be available for the week. So that's available only to the attendees of this webinar. And then also we'd like to point out we are doing a winery summit specific to the Napa and Sonoma and pretty much the California region for all wineries in the area that are using RMS and retailers that, you know, are looking forward to the future of retail. So we invite you to please sign up to that. That's going to be starting next week. It's going to be a fantastic event. We have over 20 wineries signed up, so we're really excited for that. And then you know what, just to wrap it up, thank you so much, Tony Winters from our UK office, for gathering that presentation, doing a fantastic job. Thank you, Anthony Ludmillan. You know, he's been working day and night on this product, getting it ready. So we're really, really proud of the work that he's doing, and this really is a joint project.
It's been a whole team effort, yeah.
Yep, yeah. Absolutely, and we're so excited. And Tony, yes, if you just wanted to close it out with any words.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to, just again, I think we touched on it earlier, just pay a big thank you to obviously the whole team, but especially to the partner community, the customers, and our customers, our partners and resellers that came forward and signed up. I think we had several hundred people elect to take part in the early adopter program. And I think it was one of the longest beta programs that we've jointly done with Retail Hero. So we'd really like to thank you for that. I don't think we'd be here today if it wasn't for that. And we hope you stay with us on this journey. And yeah, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you, Tony. And as always, everyone, there's so much resource available on the rmhpos.com. There's an FAQ, there's videos, there's all of that. So go there first if you have a question, and you more often than not, your answer will be your question will be answered. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. So thank you, everyone, and bye for now. We'll be in touch. Thank you.